Hi, and welcome to Spiritual Alchemy Energy, the podcast with Julie, your host. This podcast is about what others do to bring their light to the world. And tonight, I have a very special author and healer, Olive Neil Noseworthy, with me. She does more than just write and heal. She can fill us in what else she does. Olive, can you hear me?
Yeah. Actually, I have all the spiritual gifts, and because I do, I do past life regression. I do the seminars. I do past life regression. I do spiritual readings. I do spiritual counseling, and I'm a healer. I also go to homes or buildings where they have unwanted guests, and I can make them leave. Basically, I do it all.
That's so awesome. And let our viewers don't know where you're from. Where are you from?
Oh, I'm from Canada, the most eastern province, which is Newfoundland and Labrador. So I'm north of New York.
And I want to thank you for staying up so late to do this podcast with me tonight.
No problem.
So Olive, go ahead.
Julie, I just want to add as well, one of the other things that I do is that with my gifts is that I help find the missing. So I help find missing children, missing adults, and missing pets as well. But that's one of the big things I do is help find the missing.
And you have a couple foundations as well.
Yeah, well, I have the Olive Angel Foundation, and that is for the missing.
Okay, and the other foundation is?
It's for to bring peace in the world.
The
olive branch, right, to extend the olive branch. Because of my name, this is why I came up with this.
That's fantastic. Oh, I need to turn I'm sorry, have to do some administrative work here. Your book is called The Secrets of My Soul.
Yes.
And you are what, in your 20s when you start having conversations with your guardian souls, as you call them?
I was in nursing school. I was in about my second year of nursing school, and that's when it already started. I talk about that in my book. I was in my I stayed in residence, and I was in the room by myself, sitting up on my bed, studying with my book in front of me, when this female voice started to speak to me. And I mean, my room is only small, but I was looking around the room, and
so it was audible and not in your head at that point?
It was audible. It was like she was there in front of me, standing. But I didn't really see her at the time. And so I kept talking to her. We had a conversation. She told me a lot of things. And amazingly enough, even though, like looking back on that, and even though I was so young, I didn't feel as though I was hallucinating or I was going crazy or there was something wrong with me. I just knew it was real. So that was the very first time.
Okay. I want to get right into the nitty-gritty of things, because this is what I've been waiting for on my podcast.
Okay.
This was my vision. This is the stuff I wanted to talk about. So you do talk about synchronicities. So I have a little story. When I first started taking drum lessons, and actually all through the time that I was taking drum lessons, my instructor would pick out these songs, and they were messages to me, or confirmations or validations. So the first song I ever learned to play was "You Don't Know How It Feels to Be Me."
Interesting.
And so now I started this podcast, and it seems like every week there's a synchronicity.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a very beautiful synchronicity that we have tonight. You have conversations with Archangel Gabriel.
Yes, he's my guardian angel.
He's your guardian angel.
Yes.
And so in the discussion with him, you bring up a lot of things that are
Mm-hmm.
really cool to talk about. And one of those things is reincarnation.
Right.
And so we reincarnate here to learn lessons.
Right.
And so I want you to talk about people have, they've got another thing coming and how they behave on Earth and going to heaven. Can you talk a little bit about, the reincarnation process and get into maybe the levels of heaven and explain that?
Mm-hmm. What I've been told and what I've been shown, and I do travel back to the other side quite often. We can all do this. I was told there are different levels on the other side, and when I was told there's different levels, it's like there's different countries. So depending on who you are as a person living here on Earth, if you're not very spiritual, and some people are religious but they're not spiritual, so that's not enough. If you're religious and also spiritual, then that's good. You need to be spiritual and do spiritual work while you're here. That's why we are here. It's basically to save our own soul, but also by doing that to help others and to save theirs. So if you're a person living on this earth and you don't do very good, you're not kind, you're not helping others, you're not helping animals, you're not helping people who are missing or people who are homeless or the elderly, those kinds of things, you're going by the wayside. If you're making it all about power and the power of money and chasing money and the material things that this earth has to offer, that's going to go against you big time. And what I was told is that basically we're putting ourselves into spiritual debt. So if you understand financial debt and what that's like, and you can go bankrupt, well, what it is that we can go into spiritual bankruptcy. We can go bankrupt because we're doing so much wrong. Um, so of course, then when we come back here is we're always given another chance to come back, and we have to undo our wrongs. You think you get away with anything, you're wrong. Um, there's always a price to pay. And if justice is not served here on earth, believe me, it's served on the other side. People don't get away with anything, okay, even though some think they do. They think once they die, that's it, it's all over with. No, they are so wrong. But if you're living a good life, you're not going to spiritual debt. Um, you're going higher. You're becoming more spiritual. And you're becoming closer to God. And I use the word God because our Heavenly Father is real. God is real. Jesus actually did walk this earth. I know that for sure. Um, so, as I said, we come back here at different times and different lifetimes to keep learning and to keep growing spiritually. And when we go back to the other side, as I said, there's like different levels. And one area we call it the higher realms. The other area we call it lower realms. So depending on where you came from in the beginning, for example, you could have come from, say, number 3, level 3 on the higher realms. So hopefully, you're doing a lot of good work, which I know you are, Julie.
Well, there's 16 levels, so let's just clarify that.
Okay.
this is the clincher for me because I'm working on a book called The Theory of Eight. So,
Okay. Yeah.
so there's, you go into the 0 point entry, right? And there's 8 levels that go up and 8 levels that go down. Just
Right.
so my viewers have a visual.
Okay, perfect. Yes, so when you leave here and cross over, it's like a 0. So you enter that circle and you either go left or up, or you either go right and go down, depending on where you came from in the beginning and what type of work you did while you were here. So for example, if you originally came from level 3 on the higher realms, so when you return, if you did a lot of spiritual work and did a lot of good here on earth and corrected a lot of your wrongs, you could end up most likely going to level 4. Okay? But if you came here during this lifetime and you did a lot of wrong and you didn't correct your wrongs from previous lifetimes or from the other side, whatever you did wrong, you could actually end up going backwards. So you came from level 3, but when you go back now, you could end up going down to level 2. So it's either you want to keep moving up or you're going to keep moving down. And it all depends on the individual.
And how this the levels are described, that 0 to 8 is going towards God.
Yes.
And 0 going to 8 going down is going basically, let's call it hell, so.
Well, in Christian terms, and I'm a Christian, that, the devil is real. He has his followers, and I know a lot of people may not want to hear this, but people need to know the truth. And the lower levels is going towards, of course, darkness. The lower level that you go, the darker it becomes. So it's from 1 to 8 down to the lower levels. And of course, the number 8 is the sign of infinity. So the further down you go, you're going into darkness, and you can end up in level 8. I mean, that's infinity. Whereas the higher realms, of course, you go up to the different levels, and if you reach level 8, that's where what people call heaven, or people call paradise. If you're a Muslim, it's paradise. But that's where God resides. That's where Jesus resides. That's where the angels live. So all the really good people or very loving people, that's where they are. And that's what we strive for, is to go to level 8.
That's awesome. So people that do wrong to others, whether they're on the other side or they're here, they have to ask for forgiveness.
Yes, they do.
They're required to ask for forgiveness from the victims.
Yes. So, for example, if someone did me wrong during this lifetime and didn't correct that wrong while I'm living here on earth, when we go to the other side, that soul has to undo that wrong. And one way to undo it is that they have to ask for forgiveness. And it's up to me, the other soul who was injured, whether or not I'm willing to forgive or not. And if I don't forgive, that debt is still there. That spiritual debt is still there. But if I truly forgive, then that spiritual debt is taken away.
This has been a question in my mind because I can talk to my dead people. So,
yeah. Actually, they're not dead if you're talking to them.
They lost their meat suits.
Yes, exactly right.
So they I got a couple and they're just annoying. Okay, they did me wrong, and I put them out of my energy. And recently, I let them back in.
Yeah.
But I think and I told them if they came back into my energy, they had to respect me. but they're not around me. And they're not, it doesn't even feel like they're able to communicate with me anymore.
But see, Julie, sometimes what you're asking is that you're trying to mix oil with water.
Right.
If you're the water and they're the oil, not going to work.
Right. Right.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
So until those individuals really start to learn and to grow and to move ahead,
right,
it's just not going to work.
They have to confess what they did. They have to acknowledge what they did, and they have to ask for forgiveness.
Right.
So that really answered a question as far as them being able to interact with humans, the living, because they can send positive or negative energy to humans.
Oh, of course. Oh, definitely. And they do come around. That's one of the problems that people have. I just had a client just a few days ago, and I did a reading for her, and she opened the door to the negative ones, and some of them downright nasty and evil. So, like, well, it's the same as living here on Earth. We're all souls. It's just that we're here in physical bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are downright nasty, hateful, to the point of being evil. And then there's others that were very kind, very loving, very caring. I mean, wouldn't hurt a fly. So you have to be careful because they give off the positive energy or they give off the negative energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm listening to you, and I lost where I was going to go. Oh, Olive and I we do believe in reincarnation, and we have reincarnated in this lifetime. But in our past lifetime, Olive was actually Joan of Arc, and I was Enkidu, and we suffered for what we were trying to do in those lifetimes. We were both burned at the stake, and now we're back to not have vengeance. We're here to finish our job, to get our messages out, right?
Yeah, that's like, even when I was younger, I questioned why did I come back? Because living life here on Earth is not easy. And I know that some people have it much more extremely difficult than what the kind of life that I have. But in saying that, I still have gone through a lot of dark times because of other people and their doings, and it's still happening. So you have to deal with a lot of dark energies, even though they're here in the physical bodies.
Right.
Yeah. So, but we come back. So I understood why I came back, because I was told I came back because I want to help others. There are too many people living in darkness, and that's the purpose why I came back this lifetime. Is to help as many people as I can to get out of the darkness and to wake up.
Right.
Because living life here on Earth basically is a mess.
Yeah.
There's too much suffering.
It's
too many people living in darkness.
Yeah, and it brings us to our next point: free will. So everything actually planned out for us when we come into this lifetime, and we have the gift of free will.
Yes.
And it's how we use our free will, how we exercise it, whether we do good or bad.
Exactly.
There was an interesting, which I'd never heard this term before. It's called soul merging.
Yes.
And you talk a little bit about it. And this is a conversation you had with Gabriel.
Yes.
About
soul merging, and it can be frightening to some people if they don't understand this, or it hasn't, they've never heard of it before. But another soul can actually come into your physical body. So if you look at it in the sense that your physical body is like a car, and you as a person You go and you get in the car and you start it up and you drive it. If once you get out, that car just sits there. So that's what you're so. But if you stay in the car, or even if you didn't stay in the car, there's other people that can get into that car with you. So it's the same as the physical body. There are actually souls that can come into your own physical body.
So you could have, say, 5 different souls in one body at one time.
I would say yes. Yeah, because what that's called in the psychiatric community is called multiple personalities. So in actual fact, you don't have a multiple personality because you're the same soul. It's just that other souls have entered your physical body and take over.
Wow.
And some people, if you stop and think about it, if sometimes you don't really feel like your true self, that like someone else is talking or someone else is doing something and it's not you, well then that's a sign that someone else is there overpowering you.
So Gabriel talks about how that can be alleviated. Have you worked with anyone on doing something like that, removing?
Yes, I have. Um, that's one of the other gifts that I have, and that's part of my healing that I do. Um, I've done it with more than one individual, and I can make those people, those souls. I call them people. They're souls. Leave the physical body. That it's not their home. I send them on their way, and they're not to return. And I have the power that I can actually make them leave, and they're not allowed to return.
Now, where do these souls come from? Are they like, I've dealt with ghosts myself, or spirits, in my home, or other places. Are those the souls that go and attach them, or they come from?
They can, it can be those, but it can also be souls from the other side who come over here.
Wow, how do they get out?
Because depending on which levels you live on or you reside on the other side, again, you can move. But those of us on the higher levels, we can move around down to the lower levels. But
Mm-hmm.
the lower level souls cannot move up
Mm-hmm.
unless someone like me can take them up as a visitor. But yes, they can get over here to Earth.
So generally, have you experienced with working with this or talking to Gabriel? Is it when somebody's going through a hard time or had a trauma in their life that this occurs?
It can, because that particular individual then becomes so vulnerable that it's almost like then you open up a door and allow them to come in. But usually it happens when people are abusing drugs or abusing alcohol.
Hmm.
That's when it can really happen.
Or some very significant trauma.
Yes,
Use.
yeah, and then they become weak and they become vulnerable. Yeah, so it's like they let their guard down. In other words, it's like they open their front door. That's how I describe it when I have my seminars. It's like you open your front door, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and there's just people out there wandering around on the streets, and they just come on into your house.
Hmm.
That's what it's like.
Are there repercussions for that?
Yes, of course, because they're doing wrong.
Right.
The one who's taken over another physical body, they're not supposed to be there. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. If someone comes into my house and walks right in and does whatever,
It's a violation.
yeah, he's not supposed to be here, or she's not supposed to be here.
Okay. And that goes along with the spiritual laws. Now, do you have any material on spiritual laws You know, a while back when I was training to be a healer, or even before that, I was looking into spiritual laws. And, you know, depending on where you look, there's like over 100.
Well, there are all kinds of spiritual laws. So the basic spiritual laws is either you do good or you do wrong. And if you're doing wrong, then you have to pay that debt. In other words, the spiritual law is in place that, like I said before, that you don't get away with anything, even though I know a lot of people believe this or think this, but it's not true. That's the main spiritual law that's in place. And the spiritual laws regarding where it is you live on the other side. That's all the spiritual laws.
Do unto others as you would have done to you.
Yes.
And you know, you talk about when the soul's asleep and in dreams, we go to the other side when we're sleeping.
Yeah, this is why we need sleep, because we don't belong here. Our soul, the real you is your soul. Our souls, we don't belong here on earth. And that's why we need to rest. That's why we need to sleep and a good 7 to 8 hours, because it's like a battery. That's what your body is like, your physical body. And even children, babies, the same way. Doesn't matter what age you are. And people don't realize it, but this is why you need to go to bed and go to sleep.
Mm.
It's because we need to travel to the other side and we get replenished and come back and wake up in the morning, then we got the energy again.
Interesting. That's just wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you? I don't know if you talked about. Oh, you talked about blood relations and versus like maybe like a soul family. I would call them.
Soul relation. Yeah.
And
That's one of the big things here too. People coming here to Earth. Some people are all. It's a huge thing that you have to be blood related. Blood related doesn't mean very much at all. Okay.
right.
The big thing is that the most important thing is the soul relation. So the soul relation meaning that who am I related to or who am I really close to on the other side? So if I'm from the higher realms, for sure I'm not really close to anyone down on the lower realms. That's really evil and really nasty. That's not who I am. So in other words, I don't have that connection or that bond with that person, with that soul. But someone on the higher realms, naturally I got very strong bonds.
Right. And those souls that are part of our blood family could very well be from either or, you know.
Definitely they are.
And
Definitely.
you know, that's something I really wanted to bring up because of the holiday we're having, and then we're looking at Christmas next month. Right. So a lot of people get grief over not having those blood relations.
Mm.
And you know, some people shouldn't judge.
Big time. Right, exactly.
So I just want my viewers, if you're watching and it's the holidays and you don't have relations with your family because something horrible happened, it's okay.
Definitely. Because even with me in this lifetime, some people I'm related to, I've actually asked myself, I've actually asked Gabriel, like, why am I related to this individual in this lifetime? I don't understand. This person is not like me at all. Like, why am I related? And it's a blood relation, of course, but that's the way families are. Like it's the soul relation is what really matters.
And a soul relation, it's not just soulmates or
No, definitely not. No.
these are people that we're connected to.
Yeah, well, like two of us, we know that we're connected now.
Yeah.
Like right?
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like we're not soulmates, and there's also twin souls. You can have a twin soul.
Yeah. I've met a soulmate and a twin soul in this lifetime.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so have I. And of course, you can have more than one soulmate.
oh yeah.
Yeah, you can have many.
Amen to that. Choose to go down the wrong path. You got to go, soulmate. Bye bye. Not going down there with you.
Yeah, right.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we talked about eights. Where are we at? We got another half hour to go. And I know there's more stuff I want to talk about. You want to tell some stories about finding missing persons?
Okay. It can be extremely difficult work, as you can well imagine. Um, One of the first cases I ever worked on, actually, I was living in Hamilton, Ontario at the time. It was the very first case. And I was walking down, it was a hot sunny day in July month. I was walking down the main street, downtown Hamilton. And in the window, excuse me, was a poster of this young guy that had gone missing. And I stopped and I looked at it and I read it. And I realized, oh my gosh, like this feeling came over me that, like an all knowing feeling, that this is also part of my spiritual work. That I'm to help find the missing. I got to help try to find this young guy. Um, so I did make contact with the police. Of course, this is my first case, keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am in Ontario, another province. And I called him on the phone. He was the guy who was in charge of this missing case, missing person. And basically, I felt as though I was being interrogated because, like, looking back on it, I mean, I realized,
Right.
like I can see why he was, right. Like, who am I? Like, and I know these things, and I'm telling him these things. Like, how do I know this? So anyway, that was fine. But I did make contact with his mother, the young guy's mother, and his mother and his grandmother came to visit me. And I didn't know whether I could do this or not. My brain didn't know it, but I felt I could do it and I knew what to do. So I did make contact with this young guy when they were there with me, and I was able to see him, and I was able to see the room, and I was able to see who was there with him. I was able to see how he was dressed, and I asked him all kinds of questions. So, like, they would ask me a question, like the mother would ask a question or grandmother, and then I would ask it to this young guy, Billy. So I do have that story in the back of my book. And then I would get the answers. So one of the big things, of course, was that the mother and the grandmother wanted to know who did this to him, because I already told them that the body was never found, but I already told them that he was on the other side because I could see him. So when
Right.
someone goes missing, I can tell when I make contact. I can tell whether they're still here on Earth or whether they've already crossed over. So he was already gone. Gone to the other side. And I knew he had been murdered. So, of course, one of the big questions was that they wanted to know who did this to you. And he refused to tell them.
Ooh.
And he was crying most of the time, sobbing, crying. And the reason why he wouldn't tell them is because he knew how evil these people were, and that he feared for their lives.
Right.
Because he had a child, he had his mother, he had his grandmother, he also had, So he really feared for their lives. That's why he wouldn't tell who did who did that to them. But anyway, his particular case, even though his body wasn't found, um, they did find who did it, and they were sent to prison. So
Awesome.
justice was served here in the physical world regarding that particular case. Yeah.
At least the family had closure when they worked with you, and then they had a second closure because they had justice served. Um, I know you said you couldn't
Yeah.
locate his body. Are you able to do that, or have you like located a body or something that's missing, or finding a location where somebody's been taken?
Yes. Yeah. And what's really fascinating is that for example, I worked on another case over in British Columbia. A young girl, she's about 28 years old, young lady. She went missing. She was pregnant at the time, and one of her family members contacted me and asked me to help. So anyway, I did travel to that town, and I can actually, well, even before I left here, I could. It's like watching a movie. Sometimes it's like I'm watching a movie or watching a TV show, and I can actually see them, and I can see the room. I can see who she's with. I can hear them. I can hear the conversation they're having. I can see what's happening, and even when I got up there, I was actually able to follow the truck. We went to the house of where she was last seen, and I could see everything. And we actually followed the truck, and I could see where they took our body.
Mm.
I could see all the details, everything that happened.
Was that more of a remote viewing that you were doing, or was that?
No,
Uh,
I was actually there. I went to the town, and we followed the truck. I could actually hear them even having a conversation in the truck. These two, talking in the truck as they had her body in the back of the truck.
oh wow!
Yeah.
So
So
like,
a remote viewing is if I was home here in Newfoundland, and
right,
I could see it.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. I've experienced doing some remote viewing when I work on clients by distance. So,
Yes.
well, my question is because I was taken to a certain location as a child, and I'm curious where that's at or what.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
Um,
You have memories of that?
yeah, I recently got that memory back, and it's a horrific one. But what's interesting, I have a friend. Um, she has, excuse me, similar traumas she suffered as a child.
Mm.
And she dreams a lot. She keeps a dream journal. And one day she shared her dream journal with me and showed me, it looked like a plat map, or, a diagram of a property. And I'm like, tell me more about this property, because it was very similar setup to where I was taken.
Oh.
And so we kind of think that this potentially could be the same place.
It's possible. Yes.
So I'm just curious if it's north or south for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we'll have to talk about that later.
Yes.
Um, you have some family members that, when you were in nursing school, they're the ones that came and talked to you. Your Aunt Mildred.
Yes.
And
So yes. So we have guardian souls, and we also have a guardian angel. So that lady that I told you when I was in the nurse's residence who came to speak with me, at the time I didn't know who she was. But as the time went on, I realized that she was my Aunt Mildred in this lifetime, and she died at a young age. But as time went on, I also learned that she was my mother in my previous lifetime. And now she's over on the other side, so now she's my guardian soul, watching out for me while I'm here on this earth during this lifetime. So we do have guardian souls, we do have a guardian angel. That's why we're never alone. We always have someone with us, we always have someone watching out for us. So if your listeners are out there, and I know they are, they're listening, if you have a feeling or you feel that someone was telling you something, or you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you really need to pay attention, because most likely that definitely is your guardian soul or your guardian angel. And this happens to me quite often, and lots of times I'm not, they're telling me something and I'm not paying attention, then I go and do the other thing, and then I realize, oh, why didn't I listen? So yes.
I have one, and for the last 4 years, he squeezes my arm.
Yeah.
I don't, he's obviously trying to communicate with me, but I don't understand,
So you don't hear him talk to you?
I've never heard him talk to me.
Okay.
And I really he hasn't squeezed my arm lately, but, it was pretty constant there for a while. So
did you ask him any questions?
I haven't really. I don't know why I don't want to talk to him.
Yeah, because it is a little scary. I mean, to actually think or to believe that someone was in the room with you, even though you may not see him.
Well, I have talked with other people. I had a friend pass away, I don't know, 5 years ago. And we weren't that close. But he comes around me, and I'm like, okay, this is really strange,
No, I tell you why. That happens to me quite often as well. That's because he knows that you're able to communicate with him.
Yeah.
Like one of the guys I went to high school with, which was like years ago, he died some years back, and he came to visit with me. And I realized, like, this is why, and that's just one example. They come to visit with me because they know I can see them and I can hear them and I can have a conversation with them.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas most people on this earth, they don't, they're closed off to all of that.
Yeah, I had my ex-father-in-law come and talk to me.
Yeah.
These are my two favorites that come visit. My friend Brandon and my ex-father-in-law. They're like my favorite
Yeah.
souls that come visit.
I have my father coming around a lot.
Yeah.
We were really close.
Yeah, I really think he came and was telling me, hey, you better make sure things are ready for Olive when she gets
Well, that sounds like my father, because, he's very organized, and, you have to be prepared.
I'm sure it was him, because I haven't experienced that before doing this.
Really? He wants it done right.
Oh, and I was reading your book, and you had so many conversations with him after he passed away.
Yes, yeah, right.
It was very sweet, yeah. Very, very sweet.
We're very, very close.
That's awesome. I love this. Okay. All illness and sickness originates from the soul, because the soul feels the emotions. It's not the body.
Exactly.
And so as a healer, I mean, if you're a good healer, you've learned this. Mm-hmm. Because the emotions, what causes illness.
Right.
So, what was I so worked up over? So
But also, Julie, what we put into our physical bodies as well.
true, very true. So basically, we're energy movers, right?
Right.
We're conduits of the other side, the higher realms. And so we move energy so that those emotions will come to the surface so people can deal with them,
right,
and process those emotions in order to heal.
Right.
You put this perfectly. I'm not sure if I'm quoting you, quoting someone else, but the term shaman refers to an individual who practices religious rituals in order to access the spirit world for the benefit of others in order to heal them.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, oh my gosh, that is just like so what we do.
Exactly.
I know you're working on a couple other books.
Yes.
Where are you in the process? Because I know this book, The Secrets of My Soul, I'm going to put it up here. As long as I don't push the wrong button like I did last week.
It took me years to write that book.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my second book, it's basically it's almost finished.
And that is called
On the Wings of the Blue Butterfly.
Okay.
And that's based on real life, true spiritual experiences I've had also. But it's during a visit when I went to San Diego actually, and I went for a coffee, and I met this guy at the coffee shop, and it was though I've known him for years, and he felt the same way with me about me, and it's a conversation that I had with this particular individual because he's very spiritual. He's from the higher realms. He's a great master, actually. And he told me so many things. And this is what my book is about. Um, and the blue butterfly comes into it because this is who he compared me to the blue butterfly.
Ah.
And then it was like things just opened up. It was just amazing. So that's what that book is about.
Okay. So you have another book you're working on as well.
Yes. Now the other book is called the blue butterfly, or I'm not sure yet if I'm going to call it the butterfly or the blue butterfly. I think
Right.
it's going to be called the blue butterfly. A couple of years ago, September past, actually, no, it was a few months before that, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease, and that's an autoimmune disease, and on my thyroid gland. So I had 6 nodules growing on my thyroid gland. So I had to have the surgery. I had my thyroid gland removed and the nodule. And then it came back that it was cancer. So then I had to have the treatment and I had to go on the synthroid medication. And of course, I've been trying to get regulated on the synthroid medication ever since. And so during that time, I started to do a lot of research because I didn't know very much about Hashimoto's disease, even though I'm a registered nurse. And I started doing a lot of research. And with the research, it was like putting pieces of a jigsaw puzzle together. And I came to realize that sugar causes inflammation. Inflammation causes the body to break down in different ways. And this is why we have all these autoimmune diseases.
Mm.
Cancer, for example, thrives on sugar.
Mm.
It's unbelievable what causes how sugar causes such problems, such medical problems. And so what I've done, I've with all this research and information and telling my story, my personal story, I'm putting that into a book so I can help people to realize that they need to change their diets. This is how they're getting sick, and this is how they can get well.
And it's a cookbook.
It's part and part. The first part, I tell about my story and I share all the research, because it's no good just for someone like me, even though I'm a registered nurse. It's no good just for someone to say, or for me to say, well, sugar does this, sugar causes this disease, sugar causes cancer tooth rot. No, so I got all the research in my book.
And you're
I'm backing it all up.
right.
And then, of course, I've got the cookbook, because I had to cleanse my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I did go through withdrawal symptoms because sugar is addicting.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through withdrawal symptoms. I cleansed my body, and I started on this diet. And of course, I'm still on it. So this is why I'm still developing the recipes and doing it. It was also a cookbook.
I got a couple recipes for you.
Oh, perfect. That would be great.
They're spicy dishes too.
Yeah,
They're not boring. They're like boring.
So
Oh,
that's Julie. That's another big message I want to get out to people, because people don't realize it, and they're addicted to sugar,
right.
and they don't even realize it. Because when I talk to people who've got autoimmune diseases, one of my questions I'll ask is that, do you eat a lot of sweets? Oh yes, I love sweets. Well, that's a sign. Like, how much sugar are you eating in a run of a day?
And
It's addicting.
yeah, it's an addiction, and it goes back to the being a healer. Um, and what I believe is it is an emotion that is tied to any addiction. There's a trauma
Well,
that
yes, and you're so right, because it's a comfort food.
right.
Even with me, I mean, I love the cookies. I love the chocolate cake and cookies and lemon pies. I mean, oh my gosh. And
Mhm.
bread. I used to always say, before I realized this, bread, I used to always say, I could live on bread. I mean, homemade bread with fresh butter. I mean,
Yum.
I'm in heaven. But the problem is the white flour, the sugar flour turns to sugar in your body once you eat it.
Is that
So
true? Flours or the wheat flours that we consume?
even the wheat flours,
Oh,
it's just that it takes longer to break down in your body.
right,
It all turns to sugar.
right. Darn it. What about grains? Do you eat a lot of grains?
No, no. I've had to get really strict. It's not an easy diet. It depends how far, or how what health issues you have. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have eczema. I've
Mm-hmm.
had that for years. That's an autoimmune disease.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got the Hashimoto's disease. That's an autoimmune disease. And now, before I started on this diet, I started to get the joint pain. Well,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, I'm getting some type of arthritis. That's an autoimmune disease,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So,
I
so with me, I have to be really strict with my diet, because I mean, I'm not. If I don't, it means that I'm not going to get these diseases under control. And the problem is that I'll end up getting another disease, because
mm,
your body keeps breaking down.
right. And it's not just sugar, or flour. It's also caffeine as well.
Well, caffeine is like a drug.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you still have to be really careful with taking, what types of food you're eating regarding chemicals and, those types of things.
I've kind of looked into the inflammation. I suffer from arthritis pain, so reducing those foods in your diet reduces the inflammation, reduces the pain all over. So,
yes, exactly right. Yeah.
Is there anything that you wanted to share tonight that maybe we haven't covered?
Well, there's a lot in my book. It's impossible to cover it, cover it all.
It's a long book, but it was good.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot in there.
There is.
It's a real eye opener, isn't it?
I was just like, it. When you go to Las Vegas and you see those lights going.
Yeah.
I was reading this book. That's what happened to me. I was like, oh.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get that reaction.
Well, it was validation for me, and there's those ancestors of mine on the other side that just wouldn't leave me alone. It's like, I know they're doing stuff over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, let's look at your website here. You have a soul protection plan?
Yes, I do.
Is that like life insurance?
It can be. There's quite the list there. I think I've got like 68 items, things that you can do to protect yourself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And people need to do it. People aren't taking care of themselves the way that they should and protect themselves.
Does that also include like behavior?
Yes.
And making wrongs right?
Right. Like, for example, to protect your soul, you can do something as simple as let the sun shine in.
Mm.
You need to open your drapes, let the fresh air in, let the sun shine in. Just something as simple as that. Even to light candles, candles around your house, to play music. So in other words, you're getting rid of the darkness.
Right.
You're bringing in the light and the love. So there's a lot of things you can do.
I have to ask you, I mean, you're talking about lighting candles, opening windows. Do you smudge?
No.
No?
It's not that I don't believe in smudging. It's just that I feel I don't have to do that.
Right.
I can get rid of the dark ones or the evil ones if they're around. Well, they don't usually come too close to me because, they know that I have the power. Yeah.
Right.
Back off. But that's why I don't do smudging, because I don't need to. And it's not that I don't believe that it can work. It can work, I'm sure.
Have you ever encountered a portal?
I would have to say yes, in a sense. You mean in the physical world?
You
don't mean like when I go to bed tonight that I'm going to travel?
No, I mean in the sense that it's a doorway that's opened for souls to come in and out of.
Yes. Like, for example, when I visited another province, in this particular town, we were on this lake, and there was a portal that over on the other side of the lake that I knew that was open there for souls to come back and forth.
Do you know how to deal with them?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had one. I had closed. I was like, wow, I did it.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was there.
Yeah.
But someone told me, and I had to deal with it. I want to thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, it was such a pleasure. So wonderful meeting you and chatting with you. I really enjoyed it.
Me too.
Yeah.
I hope my viewers did too. I want to thank my viewers and all my guests, including Olive, for supporting me doing the show. It's, Thanksgiving here tomorrow. You know, I have a lot of people I want to thank. Three Beards, they're out there, the three guys over at Three Beards, Craig, Chris, and Austin. You guys are awesome. If I didn't meet you guys, I wouldn't be doing this podcast. So thank you very much. I want to thank Maddie that supported me and giving me honest feedback after my podcast. And most of all, we should thank God today and every day.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you again. We'll see you all next month.
Thank you.